Get to Abbasids being picked on both sides. Both these guys understanding where the meta is taking us in Dry Arabia. And like you highlighted, these guys, they have not been up against each other before. Another interesting thing to think about is their playstyles. I think they have quite differing playstyles. Kasva hasn't necessarily been spammed as much of the Abbasids as other players at the top of the leaderboard right now. And it's a bit hard to get data on Lucifron because he tends to lurk in the shadows of Smurfs left, right, and center. But I feel like playstyles alone should lead towards this kind of situation where maybe Lucy's the more greedy of the two, and Kaz is going to be more aggressive. Maybe that's my bias because of his history as an outpost rusher, but I think even past that, Kaz has definitely solidified a spot in the AoE scene as an aggressive type player.
Yeah, that's exactly the question right now, because you said it's going to come down to playstyles. But what kind of playstyle are we going to see from Kasva? Is it the ultra aggro guy that is a threat to essentially all pro players on the ladder? Or is it a more cautious Kasva, someone that is more prone to mistakes simply because of the high pressure? We talked about this numerous times in tournaments before for Kasva, that oftentimes the breakthrough seems to be missing for him, simply because he's playing a different playstyle than he does when he's playing on the ladder or even in smaller tournaments.
And that's really scary when you get into mirror matchups. Mirror matchups is a lot easier to mirror your opponent's behavior, right? And while that might get you deep into a chess tournament versus a Grandmaster to a certain extent, very quickly, these Grandmasters, which Lucy historically is definitely one, he's a veteran in the RTS scene, he'll read what you're doing and he'll look to make a pivot that you can't match. So I agree, Kasva needs to get out of this rut of dancing to the tune of his opponent. When he looks best is when he's setting the pace. I think a lot of people still think back to Beastie versus Kasva in one of the earlier weeks where he was able to completely rush like Beastie's Deli out of the game. And admittedly, it was cheesy outpost rushing. But what it was Kasva saying, this is my play style right now, and this is how I'm going to play. And I need to see that today.
Exactly. A specific playstyle got you here. A specific playstyle made you a professional player, but you can't really deviate from it much, because if you give up your characteristics, your style, you will make yourself much, much weaker. And if you allow Lucifron to just play his own convenient playstyle while you deviate from yours, then you're going to put yourself into a pretty difficult spot against another elite player, someone that has had quite a lot of success in the weeklies, though most of that actually comes from a single semifinals finish. It's actually interesting to see that Lucifron, despite the fact that he's been around ever since the start of competitive Age of Empires 4, has not had more success in the weeklies. You really get the impression that he was grinding out for the monthlies rather than the weeklies.
Yeah, Lucy looking more like Lucy at the moment. It's not really the guy we've come to expect. I mean, this is a guy that was ranked as the elite, the top 10. I think in a lot of people's kind of charting of players at the moment, they maybe have him sliding just outside of that, which is still a respectable position to be in. But it's credit to, one, the improvement of other players, maybe two, like the lack of evolution. I think this is a critical time in Age of Empires 4. The current meta shift we've seen has been one of the biggest and quickest transitions in terms of meta changes, even without or with patches, since the game released. And I think players that can adapt to these new kind of feudal aggressive timings, these deviations and builds, are going to net a bigger advantage in the current meta.
Speaking of deviations in the builds, Kasva decided to go with just one scout as compared to Lucifron, who operates with the little bit more old school build of two scouts. And as you pointed out, we're seeing more and more players operating with only one scout, once again going back to that old school meta that we really have seen in early November at latest, instead of playing two scouts, which is going to give a slightly better feudal age timing here for Kasva, and possibly a slightly faster second Townsender for him.
And the cool thing actually in this matchup is that you can kind of get away with having that one scout. You can argue that Lucifron's going to get more sheep, sure, but where getting more sheep matters is when you're afraid you're going to be harassed. In an Abbasid mirror, it's a little bit hard for someone to take a clear, decisive lead. It's not like a Mongol matchup where it's more volatile, or maybe something like the Rus, where the feudal timing comes a little bit harder, a little bit faster in your base. With the Abbasids, there's a little bit of flexibility, and I agree, that second TC being unlocked a bit quicker could allow you to float the additional food income or secure the extra berry patch to get you more horsemen, for example, than your opponent's able to field.
That's exactly it. With the Abbasids, you will be expanding towards additional sources of food with your second town center anyways, so the impact of those sheep are much smaller than it is for some other civilizations. You will be securing an extra patch of hunt or extra berries anyways, so missing out on a couple of sheep for the sake of being able to secure that extra food a little faster is probably a good trade-off, and it's a trade-off that Kasva is willing to take.
And speaking of trade-offs, Kasva has an awkward trade-off decision to make in that northern corner. You can see that you've got Deer and Berry right next to each other, premium location for TC. Downside, however, is the spawn guards were a little bit cruel with the way these woodlines got generated. A lot of open field. If you do play towards this location, Lucifron's reaction, which will be quick due to the double scout, will be to go into Horseman, as it will have active ways of raiding in from every angle in that area.
Usually it is said that you want 2 resources to be close to a town center. If it's only 1, it's a little bit of a lackluster town center. Now obviously, your options are limited here if you're Kasva, and that still has a berry patch plus a hunt, so it's still a pretty decent town center. But as you said, the lack of wood close to that second town center could be a source of concern for Kasva, because that will make him much more strained on wood, much more dependent on the single wood line that he's using right now. And given the fact that his backup wood is to the front, this is something that Lucifron could exploit in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, something awkward I see about the generation here is that Kasva needs to be the aggressor, but might struggle to be. In that, if you look at his generation, it's a lot more open, it's a lot more exploitable. Then look at Lucifron's. Lucifron didn't get like this double food value, but what he got is this fantastic spawn of deer on the left side of the wood line. It means you can drop a TC there and then bridge your base. The importance of this is you have a lot of natural defenses. It means that it's a lot harder for Kasva to actually exploit your economy. And the importance of that for Lucy is it means that he can double down on aggression with limited investment in defenses.
Exactly. As you said, it's a mirror matchup, so small differences will pay dividends for both sides. So being able to possibly volley yourself off to the edge of the map or just have a slightly more defensible base layout will give you a massive edge over the opponent, because you can be the aggressor with a lot higher confidence simply because you know that you are safe back at home behind your walls.
Yeah, I find when people want to be more aggressive in their playstyle, they prefer these spawns where they can play a TC on each side of their starting wood line. Just because it condenses your base, but it's still beneficial in terms of resource gain, right? And the logic in there is just, you know, you've got this natural wall in that tree line until it's gone, so you don't have to invest in as many spearmen, for example, to defend you. And Kasva, we're about to see where that TC is going to go. He's got what he needs. Well, I say that, he just reinvested some of the wood, and yeah, it's going to be forward. Look at where he went. We talked about this kind of condensed style, so you don't have to defend as much, and he's opted for that, but this is a pretty lackluster TC. You've actually gained control of nothing additional, and wow, Lucifron, instead of wrapping west, will also go forward towards the mid-map with his TC.
Yeah, both of the players seem to respect the opponent's ability to possibly deny that TC and just want to play safe, which is a bit of a shocker for Lucifron, because he sees that Kasva's back at home. Lucy could have gone a lot more aggressive with that TC, unlike Kasva.
No, I see what this is, actually. Lucifron's going for a third TC.
Yep.
So second
Kasva
one secures
too.
the stone. And yeah, but like... sorry, third TC. Lucifron's going for a third TC. Like, Kasva, like you say, is going for it as well. But I think he has to play north side now for it to be value. Whereas Lucifron, if he plays one to the west side of that wood line still, I like the layout. Because he's got a forward defense, and he still gets the exploitation with the third one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, he also saved some time with his villagers because he just dropped the town center right next to the stone, so there was basically no walking time involved, and he still will secure the left-hand side hunt with a third TC. So it's gonna be 3 versus 3, or at least so it seems. Do you think there is anyone here that would dare to go for a 4th town center in this matchup?
Isn't that how that works? You just keep going until one stops, right?
I've seen a game, I think, where we had 7 versus 8 town centers between the two opposite players on Lipany.
Wow.
Because you always work to play advantage, right? You want to get some sort of advantage. You don't just want to match the opponent's numbers, you want to gain advantage. So that means you have to keep adding TCs until your opponent stops doing so.
If he keeps adding TCs like this, I'm going to just keep adding to the cost of hair products he owes me to replace all the hair I'm losing. Like, this is so tight and so low value. And this is a game where you're already behind the horseman count. The logic for Kasva is by condensing himself like this, he should be able to be more active in raiding, but he's not. Like, Lucifron's used his generation better. I think, like, Kasva was already put on the defensive, and that second TC didn't secure anything. So, like, my thought process is, why not just play north side and get the good food gathering rates, because you're on the defensive anyway. Instead, he's just losing this. Look at the count. The horseman trade is bad for him. The TC situation is bad for him. Kasva's getting nothing out of this game.
And a concern that he has is that this wasn't his game plan. If you go back to Dark Age, he went with 1 scout. The entire idea was that he's going to secure extra sources of food with the additional town centers. Did he succeed in that? Heck no. He didn't secure anything.
I mean, why? Like, so there's options, right? Like, I understand the risk of going for this deer berry location because Lucifron will just stockpile horsemen and burn it. So maybe instead go for your eastern tree line with the berries nearby, right? Like, there's options here. I feel like there's options. Originally, I thought he was going to drop the TC next to this deer stack and the wood line. I was like, okay, not like the best opportunity, but not bad. Like, excuse your flank. He didn't secure anything. And now you can see what he has to do afterwards. He has to build walls, but these walls are going to be intercepted. Like, it's too late. There's too many horsemen. You're being doubled up right now.
Yeah, you really feel that he wanted to do too many things at the same time. As you said, he was behind in horseman numbers. If he plays defensive, expands towards the food, and then pushes out, it's a different story.
It is a 4th TC. Dude, Lucy, you know, some people go, right, that's too greedy. Why are you doing that, Lucy? Because he's setting the aggression. Kasva hasn't touched a single blue villager yet. He gets to do this because of that.
Look at that, 13 horsemen against 9. Lucifron can easily match the horseman numbers. Kasva can't do anything against him. Even if it did, it would come at the price of losing all his horsemen. And with the town center power of both sides, you don't want to be losing horsemen for killing villagers here, essentially. It's so easy to replenish those villagers. It's so cheap even. You don't want to lose 2 horsemen to kill a villager.
And this is why he gets away with it, because the spearman that Kasva went into, as soon as Lucifron scoured that, he started going for that extra TC, because he understood the layout. Like, he's like, okay, he's gone defensive. He's turtling. He can't come after me. And, you know, here's another crazy thought to you. Like, Kasva, what has he done with these horsemen? Yeah, no, get back fast. It's going to be fine. The spears are there. Like, don't worry about that. Like, think about this, though. This is a bigger oh no when you kind of lock it in your brain. What has Kasva actually done with these horsemen? At what stage did he do anything aggressive? He tried maybe once, but he's been defensive since, right? And the closest, when I say once, he was in mid that. So why even build horsemen at that stage? Think about the cost of all these horsemen, the ones he lost as well, if he just spammed spearmen and defended. It would have like done the same, but he would have more surplus eco right now. He'd have a game plan. Right now, he's just being dismantled.
Yeah, exactly. Lucifron is the aggressor over here, and Lucifron sees the desperation of Kasva to move out for the hunt. Lucifron knows fully well that Kasva is strained on food, and little does Kasva know that behind this one, Lucifron has an extra TC against him too. So not only is Lucifron being the aggressor here, also making difficult for Kasva to access food, Lucifron is also passively increasing his eco over his opponent here, and working towards snowballing this game.
Yeah, Kasva's looking like me last night, really hungry. Like, he needs food so badly. Just look at Lucifron in comparison, though. Lucifron's probably going to stop investing. He's going to tech up instead. Because he has such a lead. Like, his 16 horsemen to the 10. Spearmen coming out. Great. I'm going to counter with camel archers, which means I counter both your spears and your horsemen. Lucifron is a step ahead, and then he's a leap ahead afterwards. Because he's going to have a tech up much quicker than Kasva can even dream of in this game. And the pinch with the horsemen moving in, the idle time force is going to set him even further back. Finally, with 12.5 minutes in, Kasva has finally attacked a villager belonging to Lucifron. But he's lost the price.
Look at that. He's losing 3 villagers. Behind this one, though, falling with so many villas inside his base. Oh, that's actually a pretty nice trade. Nice value for Kasva.
Yeah, like, but it's your 4 TCs, right? Like, Lucifron is just kind of shrugging at this right now. He's still got a 10+ lead. He's shutting down eco of Kasva's, and he's still able to escalate. And it looks like Lucifron, because he saw this, he's like, fine, I won't castle up. I'm going to reinvest. 5 camel archers queued, phalanx prepped, going into spearmen. He's just a step ahead right now. I'm worried for Kasva.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He knows he's ahead, so he just needs to make sure he doesn't do anything unnecessary, anything crazy, like possibly going up to Castle Age and then allowing himself to be overrun by Kasva's forces. Camel Archer getting taken down, but the Horseman can no longer do much damage, and Lucifron still maintains the 10 eco lead.
And the Spearman is starting to cut him off, so heavy injuries on the exit. He definitely got value out of this. This was the move Kasva needed, or he was just out of this game anyway. It sets Lucifron back in his tech up, but what it's now forced is a double down. And he's seen this Spearman, he needs to react to it. Like right now, Kasva is not reacting to it. He's building more spears and more horsemen. He needs archers.
Yeah, the roles have changed in just a blink of an eye, really. A couple of moments ago, there was a risk that Lucifron goes up to Castle Age and Kasva's gonna punish that with a full feudal. Now it's reversed. It is Kasva aiming to go up to Castle Age, and Lucifron is the one just spamming out units non-stop, getting ready to possibly punish Kasva here. Although, this could be a great punishment coming in by Kasva.
Lucy? This is a bit greedy. Kasva, he does notice he's gonna react to it. That's gonna be a peel of forces. That's gonna buy time. But Kasva... Well, he's hesitant because shifts could come out, but he should know that Lucy doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, many of those horsemen are quite weak. Spearmen coming in to support. Not a single villager fell.
more important detail here. Lucifron starts spamming spears, and now see the reaction to that. He already has siege engineering. He's ready to go. He's read this perfectly. Kasva is still a minute away from his tech up, and he went full greed. He's hoarding all the resources and not reinvesting it into military now.
And I think Kasva doesn't even have a tremendous amount of production buildings here. He never really went into heavy military production. He might be sitting at like 1 or 2 stables, possibly 1 or 2 barracks here. So his ability to mass produce army could be limited. 3 stables, 3 barracks, not as terrible as I thought, but not necessarily enough to push off a full feudal army that's coming in here.
Yeah, it's the timing. Like, Lucifron has a big enough force. If he started saving for a tech up now, he could still strong arm a fight and prevent Kasva from getting value out of castle. And now he's going to start moving in. Camel Archers push in. Too many villages. And you can see how desperate Kasva is. Like, why are there so many people on the front line? Well, whatever that reason is, I'm going to shut them out, he says. He moves in. Rams now onto the tower. Plenty of spearmen dive past. And that is going to be a critical resource loss for Kasva. Not out of the game, though. Has got 1.5k food in reserve, but he needs a way of accessing it quickly. Still waiting on that tech up.
Exactly. He's going to have to sacrifice the berries over here for the time being. But if he gets a couple of men-at-arms out and he's got the resources to do so, he might be able to salvage something out of this. And you see Lucifron, he's going all in feudal over here. No desire to go up to Castle Age. This push has to work for Lucifron, and sense of urgency has to kick in for him rather than Kasva. Kasva can easily mount a defense here with men-at-arms.
He's actually going in for the spear upgrades as well, so he's got enough in the field to justify it. Remember, 19 to defend with right now. Phalanx won't take long to research. I think Lucy, he might get some value out of this, but he could also lose the game right now, and he should be ahead. But the issue for him now is if he falls back and goes for his tech up, you're talking at least 2 minutes difference. And Kasva might get the opportunity to recover. I think the reason why Lucy is doubling down is because of that Ford Berry situation. It makes it look like Kasva's desperate, like he doesn't have resources.
Ooh, Ram's getting caught off guard over here. Upgrades slowly coming in for Kasva. He's waiting for the perfect fight, and he might be given one here. Lancers, men-at-arms out there. Spearman upgrades also in. This is the fight that he's been waiting for, and this is a good one.
Too early. The Spearman upgrade hasn't come through yet. By the time it does, heavy damage can be told upon you. The Spears will get access to the TC again. And the Camel Archers, remember that they get bonus damage. Sure, you got a few man-at-arms out, but now the Rams are in again.
Yeah, I thought that the upgrades were coming much faster than that. I don't know why he took that. I thought the upgrades are just seconds away.
I think so. I think Kasva may have like originally intended to like delay it for preservation of knowledge and then went to it late. He got Phalanx straight away because it's just a cost-efficient one. And now as a result, the Rams, they're going to get a free TC.
It's worse. He has it queued behind Spearman. He's still not researching the veteran upgrade. It's queued up behind Spearman. That's why it's lacking. Oh, that hurts so much.
And Lucy's now teching up. Like the delay. He lost the army. He almost lost a TC, idle time force, some villages going down, armies yet exchanged. Look at the difference now, 112 villages to 88. Military count is neck and neck, but Lucifron is now already halfway to his tech up. By the time the Lancers arrive in his base, he's going to have enough spearmen to defend, and he's going to complete his castle up.
Man-at-arms still out there for Kasva with a chance to do something against Lucifron, but he kind of needs to make something happen, down by 25 eco. It hurts so much that the upgrade was just behind Spearman. I was thinking, okay, that upgrade has been there on the overlay for half a minute. It should finish any second, and it still didn't finish after 2 minutes. That's because it was queued up behind Spearman, so it never even started.
I mean, I was like, maybe he cancelled it to get preservation knowledge. Then I see them both up there together. I'm like, that's not it either. Something's gone wrong here. It's a big mistake as well. I mean, that was 20 spearmen just thrown away that should have won that fight. That should have made sure there was no idle time, no dying villages, no trade of an army. It should just be one-sided. Instead, though, Lucifron holds on the front line long enough. He gets the tech up complete now. And Kasva, yeah, he was in castle first, but remember, the economy difference is so big here. Lancers will try to chip away at it, but at the end of the day, it's still 4 TCs versus 3.
Yeah, Kasva's very much in this one still, so he's not out of the game by any means. The concern is that this could have been a lot better for him. Possibly even an opportunity missed for him to wipe out the enemy army and then counterattack as his opponent was going up. That missed micro with the upgrades made things much more difficult, but he still has the Lancers roaming the base of the opponent, getting some idle time done, and the Men-at-Arms, well, they are rather underwhelming against a swarm of spears.
They are. It's something I try to plead with people to understand. Like, yes, man-at-arms one-on-one versus a spearman, they're better. But if you talk about the cost association and then you compound that, you snowball up to 20, 30, spearmen are better because double them attacking, right? Double them attacking. These units hit for a 10+ damage at this stage when they're upgraded. Yeah, you've got some armor, but if you talk about the offset damage here, like, it's actually a lot more neck and neck than people consider. And it's why you've got problems with your Kasva. Because not only have you built the man-at-arms, you went Lancers. So what does that mean for Lucifron? He can counter with crossbows alone. These crossbows also enable him to build siege right next to your base.
And just wipe out the man-at-arms as well. Everything that Kasva is building can be countered by crossbows. He only has 2 Lancers, actually. He's completely stopped producing any of those. He's just using them for raiding. Not to great effect here, thanks to the spears. He's down to just men-at-arms.
So it's actually worse than that. Kasva wanted to produce more Lancers. He couldn't afford to. Look at his food income. Imagine having 110 villages and barely cracking 500 food a minute.
Yeah, he's mining stone like a madman. He's probably has sent way too many villagers, actually, to stone.
He needs to keep. It was because he needs a keep, but he also needs a farm transition, right? Like, so he's running out of wood. He needs to secure the front side. Instead, he has to drop this keep very defensively. If you look at his starting wood line, it's about to dry up. So sure, you can say Kasva lives for another minute or two, but where are you getting wood after this?
And why are you dropping off the relics in a mosque that is right on the front line, waiting to be destroyed by Lucifron?
I think he was planning to drop the keep next to this secondary tree line, but Lucifron beamed to the punchline, and now he's just parked it with multiple mangonels. Kasva's in trouble.
Yeah, he's got no map control, no resources available, and right now you can't really squeeze in a farm transition. It just leaves you so vulnerable.
And if you wanted to see the difference in the eco state, just look at the fact that Lucifron is researching military academy. He's about to boom militarily. He's already doubling Kasva up. Kasva can't take a fight as it stands. It's going to get worse from here.
Yeah. Speaking of that mosque, well, there it goes. So much work for Kasva for that, losing both relics. Lucy could even yoink both of those, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is the crazy part. Like, Lucifron's already past the point of his greed being punishable, right? When he went for 40 seats. Yeah. Kasva went for a mosque into relic gathering, so he's now being greedy in a situation where already your military was behind. It just feels like kind of a game-losing state, right? But this comes off the back of Kasva's food situation. Like, this is all compounded. The fact that he didn't sort his food for long-term sooner is why he's now suffering.
Obviously, the Abysses, they need to expand towards additional sources of food.
Ooh. Get out, get out, get out!
Getting away, but yeah. Kasva, he needs to expand towards additional food, and this is something that the Abyssids do by this time, like the 18-19 minute mark, but Kasva was just so confined into his base, never really was able to get extra food.
And here's a scary thought for you. Lucifron's been building up a surplus. What does he do with that surplus? Well, he's pop cap now, so he can go for a tech up. But even if you wipe his army, he's got Golden Age free Lidicor. So imp, but also more people. Just smash. Like, he can just spam more units than Kasva can. And because he's building camels, spearmen, crossbows, they'll move across the map quick enough to leverage that. This is problematic for Kasva. He needs a good fight. Good start getting rid of the mangonels. Only one of them gone so far, though. The spearman ball is still scary for Kasva to fight into due to the phalanx allowing double the units to attack.
Look at this Lucifron. I mean, he's got a bunch of units in the queue even, so he can really think about Imperial while also maintaining aggression. He doesn't even have to fight here because he knows he would have the advantage going into Imp.
Mango baiting in the Springholds. Clash comes out, but remember what we said. It's the Spearman holding long enough, trading evenly, but then the Crossbowman coming in over the top. Crossbowman on both sides, but Kasva has no value in this unit. His army could easily now be wiped. Mango is going to be target down. Heavy hit to the crossbows, but whoop-de-doo. The price is your entire army.
Yeah, that definitely was better than Kasva could hope for, but the crossbows still stay alive and you can't really pursue with the men-at-arms. Best thing you can do is snipe them with Springles.
What's that Mangonel doing from Lucifron, by the way? It's just vibing. Like, it's going to find the monk. Oh, this poor guy. He's like, bro, I'm just here for the relics. I don't want war.
Oh, Race of Castles coming up here. I feel Lord Doubt smiling upon us.
Well, I mean, Kasva is going to look like it belongs to Doubt here. I mean, he's pulling a second line of villagers, but it's too late. Lucifron's is going up first. Yeah, he'll be able to garrison some, but the rest are just going to have to run away. And I mean, long term, I do think this is just better for Lucifron. Not just because he gets to keep up first, but because he's already carved up a line of keeps. He has better control of this area than Kasva could dream of, and the Insta-Siege Workshop behind tells you exactly that.
And that's the large gold mine that Kasva needs to grab. The large gold mine belonging to Lucifron is on the right side, so Lucifron is more than happy to just forfeit that gold mine to his opponent and just go back home. Kasva needs that gold mine desperately, and he's gonna have to take down multiple keeps in order to be able to get there.
Siege Workshop's complete. Kasva, in the meantime, just doesn't really have the woods to be able to afford Siege Workshops as well. Villagers turning against the Lancers. They just don't give a damn. And you can see the confidence for Lucifron. Like, he's extending his farms out into the center of the map for efficiency. He's not phased. He's not threatened, right? Because Kasva can't go for Lancers anymore, and he's proven it. In fact, if you look at the comp right now, it's just more crossbows. It's going to make it very easy for Lucy to counter. And if the race is between crossbows, Lucifron already has a big lead in that department.
And he's also transitioning to Horseman. You can see the count increasing at the top of the screen. So not only does have the numerical advantage right now in the crossbow department, he's already much faster coming in with the tech switch to counter the crossbows coming from Kasva.
And it shows you the value of transitions and the value of hiding it, because Lucifron began that transition to Horseman when he was taking trades outside of Kasva's base, right? With the Mangonel getting a good smash against Lucy. He hid it until now. He's hid it until he's got enough troops to get a win in the fight. And now he can march in. There's enough horsemen here. They can go deal with the siege. They can wrap onto the crossbows. And they can even think about diving into Kasva's base.
Exactly. Kasva is trying to make his own horseman switch right now. It's a mirror matchup, but in this mirror matchup, there is one player that is clearly in a leading position. That's the problem. You're trying to mirror each other's movements, but Lucifron is ahead. So whatever Kasva is trying to do, he's always going to stay one step behind unless he takes a spectacular engagement.
And what did I say? What did we say about Kasva at the beginning of this game? Like, I said it was like playing checkers, or playing chess rather, and mirroring the moves. That's what he's done. Practically this entire game has been him mirroring Lucifron's moves. We can talk about the spin and transition that Kasva done first, but that was a detrimental one. Ever since then, it feels like he's just seeing what Lucy's doing and following up on it. We were seeing it again with the Horseman, and I think we're going to continue to see this uncomfortable thing. Oh, God. What are you doing?
And he's trying to go for gold.
Lucy. Dude, the wood's getting blocked out. The wood's getting blocked out everywhere. It's not just about the gold. He needs this keep to try and defend the wood lines. They're exposed on the front side still. Remember, the first keep that Kasva placed was on the side, and the villager ball. Kasva, his only move. It might actually be good enough.
I think the damage rate is actually higher than the build rate. Kasva's gonna take that down.
Wait. But the horsemen are coming in.
No, you commit. You commit here if you're Kasva.
You have to, but it's gonna cost you. There's a price to pay here. Lucifron, but by the way, he has enough stone to just do this again. And the whole army is up here right now, Lidicor, which means his base is undefended. Yeah, he's doing it on purpose. Look at the base of Kasva right now. There's no one defending at home. He's just baiting him in. He's actually taunting him right now. Yeah, come on, my little trinket. Come deeper. Come further. Come further away from home. No one is defending the roost.
Oh my goodness, Kasva being distracted so heavily over here, still trying to work towards that gold mine, and Lucifron is just running circles around him, dancing and dancing.
Kasva. Keep coming here. You're idling double the eco and getting nothing for it. Meanwhile, in your base, horsemen are everywhere. He'll now try and wall it off, but the damage is already done. Sure, you'll clean up that eco pocket, but Lucifron is let loose everywhere else.
Yeah, you get the feel Lucifron knew exactly that those villagers will die like 10 minutes ago. He still kept dancing around. Look at what Kasva had to sacrifice for this. His eco is an absolute train wreck. Oh my goodness, and now Lucifron is going into Imperial. Oh, Kasva. I mean, we can't fault him for that. He did his best to stop that keep being dropped. It was just too much the price that he had to pay for that.
Dude, Lucifron just done the maths. He's like, I spent 800 stone. By the time you kill this, you've missed out on 800 plus resources. That's what, 30 villages? That's an easy mathematical decision to make, but it shows you how comfortable Lucifron is in this game right now. Trebuchets in the meantime are cleaning up keeps. That's now going to force a reaction out of Kasva. And Kasva, it just feels like he's rushing to put out fire after fire in this game.
And he's gonna try to snipe the trebuchets here, might even have a window to do so. Not a lot of defense for the trebuchets over here. Might buy himself some time, and keep in mind, Lucifron is going into Imperial. If Kasva wants to hit a timing, this is the time to do so. Lucifron only sitting at 31 army as opposed to 71. Maybe we have spoken too soon. There might be a timing here for Kasva.
Yeah, but how do you get in? Like, if you have to go around the keeps, right? So that's going to take time, and you have a static army. I think that's the weakness for Kasva. He needs siege right now. If he wants to get in, if he sees this tech up, like, it's too late that you start building when you see the tech up. You need Trebs coming out now, which is why it's a good sign that Kasva already has his first in the field.
Yeah, it looks like he also wants to mirror the movement of Lucifron once again here, working his way towards Imperial. The benefit here for him could be that he's not that much behind an imp. It's going to be like 1.5 hours or 1.5 minutes of difference, rather.
1.5 hours. Not one of these games again. Oh, send it so often out of Lucy on Dry Arabia, not again. It'd be a miracle if Kasva could drag it out that late. But tech up about to complete. This is Kasva's go time. He's going for his own tech up. Remember that he's already pop capped, but the problem is, I don't think he's going to rush. As soon as the tech up completes, because Kasva doesn't have surplus to build new troops, I think he's just going to wait.
Yeah, he's gonna wait. And he knows he can wait because he's got enough keeps to defend over here. And look at the gold bank that he has had. He had 5,000 gold just a second ago. Just spent 2,000 on Imperial Age research. So you can bet that the elite Camel Archer upgrades are coming in. The elite Spearmen are coming in as well. Bombard's now being added to the mix. On the other hand, because Lucifron is playing passive, waiting for the upgrades and waiting for his army to mass, this gives a window for Kasva to reach Imperial himself.
I actually like the Lucy's going hard in the camels, though. I think it's an underrated counter to the Abbasids. They want to do horsemen and spears, and sure, horsemen get bonus damage, but they also lose some damage in the process. If you go camel archer spear versus horseman spear, yes, you're spending a lot more because you're spending double compared to the horseman, but you're going to get a lot more bang for the buck.
Exactly, it's a very population efficient unit, debuffing the enemy, and it really comes online once you get to Imperial, once you get those key upgrades in. Kasva finally finding an opening on the left side possibly by taking down that keep, but Lucifron has the forces to match this with.
And you're seeing these camel archers, they'll just stand behind the small palisade wall. Pretty good defense point, actually. Upgrades finally coming through, and Kasva now needs to retreat. He's got no horsemen left on the front line. Spears and crossbows, no match for what's chasing him, but they have no choice but to fight. And you can see, once again, Kasva is stuck in a loop, copying Lucifron as he now tries to prep camels of his own.
Yeah, it is just once again being one step behind. He's now up to Imperial, but this is just going to be a signal for Lucifron to keep going because he knows that the upgrades are still lacking for Kasva. He's going to push deep, and the Camel Archers can chip away quite a lot of damage on those crossbows. Even more importantly, leaving the farming eco exposed on the left side over here for Kasva.
And in the meantime, Lucifron now sets himself up with another transition. This time going into hand cannoneers. Hand cannoneers plus camel arch is pretty lethal, by the way. If you don't have mangonels, you're screwed there because of the camel support giving the extra armor and how strong hand cannoneers are. Like Kasva, my issue is right now, he's still dancing to Lucifron's tune. If he can't sniff this out and prep mangonels ahead of time, I think that might be the moment where Lucifron goes for the jugular.
You're saying that, but look at Kasva's wood income. Right now, he's desperate for wood, down to 200 in the bank. Villagers getting picked off here, and just limited forests to access here. All of his wood is on the front, and this is something that Lucifron is doing a great job denying.
Yeah, well, finally, Kasva has put the walls up in his own base. It took long enough. He has now secured those wood lines, but the problem is, look at where Lucifron has carved up his territory. Like, he's just on the other side of this. It means that Kasva, there's a high risk to even thinking about gathering on those wood lines. So you're right in that regard that he's running out fast, but he needs to take these risks. And it should be safer. However, with that keep going up from Lucifron, oh my goodness.
And it's a commitment down from Lucy. He's gonna dive.
East side. Look east of here. There's a keep going up on the other side of that wood line that Kasva now needs. It's not just about this keep, it's about the fact he's about to resource block him out of those wood lines that Kasva just moved to.
Kasva trying to raid his way back into the game here. Stone was on the way for Lucifron, but Kasva's about to lose the only defensive keep that he still has inside his base. Big commitment here by Lucifron, though.
Look at the pop cap. Kasva, he can't build the military quick enough. This is problematic. I'm not even sure if he's Golden Age 3 at this stage. Remember that Lucifron's been there for several minutes, but I think this is still Golden Age 2 from Kasva.
And that's a big difference maker. That extra production is just paying dividends here. Big time for Lucifron. And it is indeed level 2 only, lacking 3 buildings.
Yeah, he's about to lose a few more buildings, so he might be lacking them for longer here. Horseman raiding in the meantime. Lucifron kind of shrugging his shoulders as he continues to crawl in. He will need to react to that and maybe get some proper walls up. But in the meantime, the trebuchets continue to siege in, shutting down the TCs as they are on the front line.
But the price to pay is pretty high here. You might be losing your siege even. And right now he's going camel riders into the spearmen of Kasva. Kasva's starting to clean up the villagers, though. I'm a believer, KP. I'm a believer. I think Kasva's got a shot at this.
Especially if Lucifron does this.
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah,
what are you all doing here? Why are you here? Please leave. Please leave fast. I mean, Lucifron, I think his intent was to take the wood lines. You can see he was being greedy with the keep. Like, he's basically just trying to take... Yeah, well, he's trying to...
bank.
Yeah, his wood is low, and more importantly, he wants to take it from Kasva's side because he wants to deny him that late game. He wants to shut him down first. And these villagers, I mean, this is a good place to stick them. I wondered where they were heading. Head to the keeps, because something that actually has helped Lucifron a lot is medical centers. Medical centers has definitely paid off in this game.
Yeah, it's a big difference maker. Once again, he's renewing his assault on the base of Kasva. Kasva possibly finding a way to raid his way back into this one because Lucifron is now desperate for wood, and you can afford to lose a couple of villagers if you're Lucifron, but you gotta be careful. You don't want to have your entire eco smashed like that.
The weird part with the Abbasids is you kind of shrug when your villagers die there as long as they drop off the wood because they're so cheap to reproduce. And you're playing a 5 TC game, by the way. I think he went for... Wait, no, it's still 4. Okay. I was about to say, please tell me he didn't go 5 TCs. That's one too far. But still, 4 TCs at this stage, like, you're just big whoop-de-doo, right? You don't care. Oh, you killed 10 villagers? It's fine. They'll be back in half a minute.
I mean, as long as you queue up your villagers. Oftentimes the problem is that players forget to do that. Lucifron does not though, so he's still up high with the villager count, and Kasva's gonna tap out.
It.
No way to stop this push into his base. As you said, he was always the reactive player as compared to Lucifron being the proactive one, and it showed in the end. It is something that can be exploited so well in a mirror.
Yeah, this is the type of game that some other players would have probably forced a GG 5-8 minutes earlier, but Lucifron's very content with his style. It's kind of that old classic boomer StarCraft style, right? We've seen it from Beastie, we've seen it from Vortex, we've seen these players that like to go late and just drain the map. Lucifron loves doing this, especially on Dry Arabia. It's still why I think like one of the best matchups to see on this map is between Beastie and Lucifron for that style, because they both do it. And Kaz wasn't prepped for it. Like, his style is more aggressive, so he needs more of the map early on, and we never saw that.
Let's take a look at how Lucifron responds to Kavasan. The first home map of Kasva in here. One of the 2 home maps that he has selected, both of which are traditional AoE2 maps, Kawasan and Four Lakes. We're going into Kawasan, a map that we so commonly see in competitive Age of Empires 2 as well, something that Kasva is very familiar with, and a map that also is often featured in Red Bull Wololo in Age of Empires 2 as well. So Kasva has the familiarity advantage here with the map. Let's see how Lucifron is going to approach this one though.
It's always interesting to hear these kind of concepts of familiarity with the map on a different game, because I wonder if that's actually an advantage, because if you come in with bias, misconceptions or preconceptions on what the map should do, that doesn't necessarily align in a different game, right? Like AoE4 and AoE2 are fairly different. So that's something I want Kasva to be a little bit careful of. Like, you might have some crafty ideas and strategies, but sometimes playing a map so much on a different game is a disadvantage.
I agree with this one. By the way, Kasva is doing the little trick with the Gur, something that we see players do more and more. The idea is that the Gur can't capture sheep unless you unpack it. And you see, Kasva only went with 1 con, so he is going to have to use that Gur to scout for sheep. On the other side, Lucifron went for the second scout though, and that is going to help him collect sheep. That's an interesting talking point, because in a Mongol mirror, going for a second scout could be a devastating move to you.
You have to get enough sheep to justify it. It's kind of a weird play in some people's eyes, because you should be playing towards docks. And I mean, the docks is going to be a pretty interesting element in this one, because Kawasan sometimes spawns people on alternate lakes, but as you can see, both of them on the southern lake here. So there is going to be a lot of conflict straight away in this game. And speaking of conflict, the way you open up in a Mongol mirror, we're used to seeing it. We know how this works. It should be the racks drop on each side. One thing I am going to highlight, Lucifron, similar to his bro Vortex, they're seen as micro gods, correctly so. I put them in like top 10 micros in Age of Empires 4 right now. And that is a really big edge to have in a Mongol mirror.
That is indeed a big one, especially in a Mongol mirror where you can see 10 plus spearmen coming in from each side in Dark Age. On the other hand, one thing that concerns me greatly is Lucifron going for that second scout. Because it's one thing he's securing extra sheep, but most of your food eco is gonna be from fish. And if you indeed want to go for a dock, going for a second scout will delay you doing so. So you're going to fall behind in fishing ship numbers, and that can easily snowball into a better feudal age timing for your opponent, possibly the appearance of archers a little sooner, and it could just end up being one gigantic snowball rolling down hills.
Yeah, you definitely have to find some value. One value that is kind of underrated and not talked about enough is the concept of like the scout to kill the Khan, right, in the fight. Like when you peel him off, because he doesn't have any value in the spearman ball, right? So then you force your opponent to try and defend their Khan or commit to the main fight. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, because I think that's actually something that Lucifron's really good at. He's really good at baiting you onto the wrong unit. We've seen it before in Mongol mirrors against some of the best players, where he'll notice that you're attacking or focus firing down one unit, and he'll pull it behind his line, and then you just watch all your units pathfind around and get confused, and they just die. So that's going to be a really important element to these first few fights, especially if this skirmish continues up to double digits for spears.
Yeah, it looks like Kasva is not willing to commit that much into spearman production. Only is at 3 as compared to Lucifron, who's up to 5. You gotta wonder how much... yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
There's the fifth one.
The delay. You have to remember, Lucifron's about 5 to 8 seconds ahead in terms of production right now on spears. He built his racks first.
Yep.
But now the dock's coming out, so this should allow Lucifron to build more spears. This was the race he was looking for. Who's going to blink first? And the problem with this race is, like, Kasva, even if he gets the dock up, you're not going to get a tech up quickly. So you won't have an archer ship here to defend this investment.
Exactly. Obviously, you don't even need it necessarily, because you are closer with your reinforcements. It's much easier for you to just reinforce this place and defend your own dock. And the disadvantage here for Lucifron is that he's yet to drop his dock, so he's going to be about one fishing ship behind. Not a massive difference, but it can be the difference maker between you reaching feudal age a little sooner than your opponent.
I'd actually love to see Lucifron try and drop an outpost next to this dock. Just because it gives you a strong point, like it's going to force Kasva to commit to try and defend, and you now have the number advantage. You can see it's 9-6, and it's going to keep escalating. But he's on the clock. Lucifron has to do this, or burn the dock down, rather at least in the next 1.5 to 2 minutes. Otherwise, that tech up will begin to come out.
Indeed, Kasva should have sufficient amount of spearmen to defend this, though. He always has the advantage of being able to reinforce, but as you said, Lucifron might have the micro advantage.
Oh, he forced the maneuver arrow. That's way too early there.
Yep.
That's a mistake. He has to engage, but he's at a number disadvantage. You can see the spread coming out. Lucifron has more troops coming through, and he still holds onto the maneuver arrow. He's waiting for that moment where he can actually wrap around the other side of them, and there's that peel back I was talking about. Micro is on point, and Kasva taking a terrible trade. Not a single blue spear falling, and half of Kasva's army gone.
The numbers advantage, it's supposed to be on the side of Kasva, but it isn't. But the micro advantage is the difference maker, as you said. Lucifron, stellar micro all across Age of Empires 4, and he's showcasing it here so well. That little micro battle, heavily in his favor, and it's about to set the dock on fire.
And keep in mind, Kasva used the maneuver arrow, right? He should have had some advantage, some momentum out of it. He gets nothing. He gets torched down, dot goes up, Lucifron, perfect, succinct timing. Just as soon as Kasva invests, he loses out. Not only losing 150 wood on that dock and 75 on a useless ship, keep in mind he also gave 50 resources over to Lucifron and now a healthy lead in the military department, 14 spears to 8.
Indeed, and right now Kasva can't even take this. Look at that, forces a defensive tower, a terrible defensive tower that is, but Kasva needs it for the food.
And he can't even get it for free. Like, you can just torch down the Gur. Get more resources. Yep, force him back. Because even if you don't kill him here, even if you don't kill the Gur, you can see that Kasva ran out of sheep. And, you know, this goes back to that scout idea earlier on.
Yep.
That's why Lucifron wanted it. He took extra sheep off the map, and he forced Kasva to go for this pocket eco sooner.
The thing is that Kasva, playing one scout, he was relying on that fish a lot more than Lucifron is. That's the timing idea. You want to hit your timing so you have the advantage going into fish, but if you lose your dock, it's gone. And suddenly the player collecting most of the sheep is going to have a tremendous advantage over you.
And here's another thought on like aggression value, right? Like Lucifron, despite the fact that he went for a scout, despite the fact that maybe his eco should have been more burdened, remember that he built the racks first, he got the spearmen out first. So not only did he go for this scout, which slows down his eco escalation, he also managed to get the military produced quicker than Kasva. Just shows you how these small differences can really compound. And although, you know, realistically, in most people's eyes, you should be weaker economically because of this scout build, what you really need to think about is that both sides are just using a single racks to produce spears. So even if you sacrifice one villager, and especially with an escalating economy, you can still afford that.
Exactly, especially if that sheep under your town center is going to help out. Reaching feudal age, like Lucifron does, he's going to beat Kasva to it by a couple of seconds, but once again, these tiny bits of timing advantages is what Lucifron is counting on. It's a mirror matchup. Small differences matter, and once again, these small differences are on the side of Lucifron.
Dude, there's a creeping smile on my face, because this, like I said it in the post for the first game. This is the most confident I've seen Lucifron look in a while. You know, we can talk about some of his performances and, oh, that's unfair. He beat this person, he beat that person. Of the games I've watched, this is the most Lucifron game I've seen in a long time. Like, it just feels like he's playing his game. And although he's conscious of what his opponent is doing, he's not being bogged down. He's not being burdened by it. Meanwhile, Kasva, you know, game one, I think he got burdened by it. But game two, it's so relentless from Lucifron that he has no choice but to react to what Lucifron's doing.
And a key thing is that Lucifron, we talk about him as an unqualified player, but let's not forget, in the first monthly he got knocked out by Mista, followed up by B. Both players are now qualified. So, yes, we might have not seen Lucifron qualify yet, but part of the reason why is because he got knocked out by some of the best players in the world who already got their ticket to Heidelberg. But it doesn't mean that Lucifron is playing bad. In fact, he's playing as confident as ever.
Exactly. Like, one of my big concerns coming this, we talked a little bit behind the scenes. I'm happy to, like, say my part in it. I felt Lucifron was maybe going to be a bit slow on picking up the new meta. It's not that he wasn't putting the effort in or anything like that. It's just, like, some of the other players look to be getting to grips with it quicker. But I've got to say, in the last 2 weeks, him and Vortex convinced me. They have an idea. It's a little bit more, I'd say, traditional to the older meta, but they still understand the importance of feudal, and they understand how to exploit it. Because the cool thing, actually, about these type of players is that their superior micro skills actually can be more on display in the early game than the late game. What does the late game turn into, Lidicor? Is it more micro intensive or macro intensive?
It's much, much more about the macro. And as you said, that delicate micro that they have, that's going to pay for itself very well, especially not just in the early game, but especially on these little bit more wacky maps that we're using now. It's no longer the Age of Dry Arabia or Lipany. We're using maps where this Dark Age or early Feudal Age micro can decide games, and it sometimes does, like we're seeing it right now.
Uh-oh. He sniffed that out. The scout did see it originally. He's bringing the entire army. He's like, I want that one villager.
Yep.
Now, the only move that Kasva has is if he can set up a dock on the home one instead. Because even if this one goes up, it's instant torch down by all these spears.
Looks like he's desperately trying to get a tower up, but this could be even worse.
Where's Kasva's army? They want to defend this. Well, villager's going to be chased away, and this actually hurts more. Like, the fact, I think Lucifron done that intentionally, because the logic here is now you just spent 150 wood. I have enough troops to torch down before you get a single boat out, which means you just spent 150 wood, and I got paid 50 resources as well. That's a 200 resource differential in a mirror matchup.
In a mirror matchup where Lucifron is leading by 6 eco now, that fishing eco is really paying for its price, and you see Kasva have no means of threatening it.
I mean, he's going to rush this dock up. This is what I want from him originally. The issue, however, is Lucifron already has 2 archer ships. You're baiting yourself now into a losing battle. The better move for Kasva would be to try and maybe get some way towards land aggression, towards a tech up maybe. Because if you try to play on water, I think you're going to lose this.
Yeah, he's going to try to rush up a second dock over here. Galleys could actually stop this one. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, light junks, man, they're still lethal. They got nerfed. Yeah, they don't drive by anymore, but they can still target you down for free here, especially considering Kasva only has 4 archers, and now he'll pull Spearman north side, but a single archer ship, as well as the response from Lucifron, is going to shut down Kasva's opportunity for land aggression as well.
Such a good job for Lucifron to keep track of all those armies and always be at the place where Kasva is either not expecting him to be or where he can do the most damage to Kasva. Destroy the dock on the north. First light junk pops out on the south though. Kasva might have an opportunity to push the water.
Does he though? I mean, there's 4 junk ships there for Lucifron, Lidicor. It's
You could go for the snipes. You kind of have to.
You're being very optimistic about this, I'll give that to you, but I don't think this is optimal for Kasva to even think of investing in.
I mean, I'm trying to look at the positives right now, because plain and simple, Lucifron is leading by 8 eco, winning fight after fight, and Kasva is big time struggling. Trying to look for the positives for Kasva, but there is limited ones to be found.
Oh, okay, let's figure out the positives. Well, Kasva did just kill Spearman.
True.
He got another one.
And it's not match point for Lucifron. That's a positive as well for Kasva.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, so Kasva still has opportunities to recover, but it's becoming more difficult to see the way here. He has forced the Archer transition out, and sure, that'll give him some momentum for the moment, but let's keep in mind the economy of Lucifron is so much stronger that he can now make a quick transition. I think what Kasva needs is a tech up, and I'm really worried about what's happened with his economy. He's got crap tons of gold, but no way of using it. I think he baited himself into thinking he could win naval combat, and that's a fallacy. That was never going to happen here.
Yeah, he was setting himself up to push on the water, but he never really was able to. Those docks were so heavily delayed. And now he's trying to do something on the water, but still just 1 light chunk against now a combined number of 6 across the map for Lucifron. Those light chunks are getting picked off one by one, and Kasva is just burning away resources, like in a blink of an eye, really.
Yeah, because he went trip docks. He's like, I have the numbers. I have you now. No, because the trade-outs are not favoring. In the meantime, Lucifron is still fishing. And then also, he went north side. So even if you shut him down here, it doesn't matter. Lucifron is going to get quick castle timing. And Kasva, he just stuck himself in the mud, right? He's so busy investing into attack ships now, the archer ships, he's not even going to be thinking about a tech up.
Yeah, the problem is that he was down to 0 food per minute just a second ago, trying to contest the lake so he evens it out, but once again he's a step behind. Lucifron going into Castle Age, that will signal the appearance of war junks, something that he simply can't deal with Feudal Age ships. Oh, look at this.
Also, this Lucifron, I said it for land, he does it for sea as well. That bait has drawn Kasva completely out of repair range.
Look at this.
And now he doesn't even get the kill.
Oh man, the micro is stellar, really.
Lucifron, once again, looking so confident, so comfortable. You can see that this is cruise mode activated for him. Like, the kind of concept of, like, the flow state, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, time passes quickly and you're really enjoying yourself. Lucifron is 100% in flow state right now.
Yeah, he's playing his best Age Vampires, minimal mistakes out there, exploiting every single mistake that Kasva makes. I guess best case scenario right now for Kasva is that he can snipe the fishing eco there, but he's facing a different problem now. He's up against Castle Age units. He's going to see Lancers appearing. He's going to see Men-at-Arms appearing. War Junks possibly. The Step Redoubt is now there for Lucifron. So just in time for Kasva to get himself out of trouble, he's going to face a different sort of trouble.
And the pain is like Kasva spent so long gathering gold in Fuel Age. What a peasantry way to make your way through life, Lidical. Why not just go Castle Age and get 50% more? Lucifron done that, and now look at his gold income.
That is the pond of sadness, you get the feel. Light chunks for Kasva will evaporate to the war chunk here, and all three of those docks will essentially serve no value anymore for Kasva. Massive investment with questionable gain, you get the feel.
Man, investing this many docks, this many ships, and then just seeing a war junk coming out is like you making a really nice paddling pool, you fill it up with water, and then someone just comes over and pees in it. Like that's how this feels right now. I mean, this is... I don't want to like be the premature guy, say call it, but like I think you are at call it state. Like the only thing missing right now is Lucifron's Lancers, and they're coming.
Yeah, they're coming, and I have to agree with you. It's actually worse than someone pissing into that pool. You get the feel that someone just poured boiling oil into your pool.
I mean, I'd say that they left a giant turd in there as well, but like war junks are anything but a giant turd. They are a giant pain in the ass, and it's enough of one for Kasva to be convinced this over. He doesn't even complete his tech up. That's 2 on the board. Mirror matchups are Kasva's curse. Can he turn it around? If he wants to, it's going to have to be a reverse sweep.
And a micro. Let's talk about that for a moment, because as you said, Lucifron right now is in the zone. His micro was stellar in Dark Age. That one engagement that we've seen in Dark Age, where he killed 4 Spiderman without losing a single one of his own, that just showed you how big of an advantage he has had in micro and how clear his gameplay is. Not just in this game, but also the one before.
Yeah, honestly. So let's see if Kasva can be the true chef as we turn up the heat in the kitchen.
And let's see what we have here for Lucifron and Kasva. English versus Chinese in game number 3.
Man, I mean, this is the thing, right? Lucifron now has to play a little bit more of a controlled Chinese, because traditionally, whenever we go to 4 lakes, there's kind of that for Willy Barbican Rush. I don't think we're going to see that here. We will see this typical Imperial Academy build. What I'm curious towards is how much Lucy is going to try to leverage the lakes and how much he's going to try for kind of a balanced land eco, because I think some Chinese players have been experimenting with that on this map, and there's a decent amount of success coming out from it, because you diversify yourself away from Kasva's strongest point, which is to block you on all 4 lakes.
Speaking of Kasva's strongest point, there's a barracks in Dark Age, and we could see something that we haven't really seen for a long time. The Dark Age Men-at-Arms. That is the secret weapon of Kasva that he could be using here.
And this build actually got buffed indirectly by the nerf to scouts. Because people are less likely to build the second scout, they're less likely to sniff this out early on. I would point out, though, that Kasva is doing
you're
this...
saying that.
So the follow-up detail is about to give is Kasva is making this gamble against the most dangerous Civ. Most Civs struggle to deal with the boy at arms because little arrow fire, right? Pew, pew, pew. However, the Chinese have hand cannon slits. Those hand cannon slits do 25 damage. These premium men-at-arms you're pushing don't even negate a fifth of that damage.
And you pointed out the gamble. There's a second type of gamble that you're looking at with this Men-at-Arms opening. It's the fact that when you commit to this, you don't have vision on the enemy gold mine just yet. So you're essentially going for a blind build, and if the enemy gold mine is at the back, it's going to make it much more difficult for you to do damage. And this time around, if you look at the minimap, all the gold spots of Lucifron, or at least the primary one, is at the back. So it's going to take much more time for Kasva to do damage with these Men-at-Arms.
Yeah, and I've talked to Kaz about these type of builds, and he agrees with me that the way that these should be utilized is on maps with hidden information. So High View comes to mind. The reason why he's doing it here on 4 Lakes is because of that central stealth forest that he was hoping to leverage to get across the map. But that early scout by Lucifron, that was a perfect sniff out. And now Kasva, in conjunction with the fact that goes on the backside like you just highlighted, is problematic. The upside, at least, is this. Those docks. He can torch them down. And those are a premium target. It's going to force Lucifron to come up with a reaction quickly.
And the thing is that there is not much reaction that he can have in Dark Age to this one. As you said, the Chinese have the response to the hand cannon slits. But there is no combat units that the Chinese are able to field in Dark Age that can deal with the Men-at-Arms. And right now, Lucifron is kind of stuck in that position where all he can do to slow down these Men-at-Arms is try to get a couple of hits while they're marching towards that dock and pull some villagers for the repairs, but you won't be able to directly take that army down.
And there we go. The outpost's going to go up. This is what I was expecting. This is his only real response. The cool thing as well, like you mentioned, you can repair. And the funny thing is you can repair at a quick enough pace without losing anything because these man-at-arms I mean, these aren't even boy arms. These are baby arms. They're wielding plastic swords. Like, check their damage right now. They're pretty insignificant, so it's very easy to micro your villages to repair.
Exactly, and the tower placement is beautiful here by Lucifron. I think it's just within the range of the town center, so should Kasva commit to killing the villagers on the town center should decimate those men-at-arms. Kasva's going very heavy with the commitment to men-at-arms, actually. Third one already popping out, but you get the feel that this is getting closer to desperation rather than a well-calculated push against that dock.
Yeah, I just realized we can't check the damage because they're torching. It's 8 damage. That was my whole point. They do 8 damage. And they do not chase very well. They are pretty pathetic. And like the crazy part about these Vanguard Man-at-Arms plays is if you talk about it from a sheer resource for health investment, they're bad, right? Because you pay 120 resources for a unit that has 100 health. Now, the benefit is that you have armor, and that's rare in the Dark Age. But once again, you're up against the Chinese, so hand cannon slits laugh in your face.
Yeah, at this point, all that Kasva can hope for is that he can keep denying the gold mine, and so far he's successful with that. Obviously, there is the Chinese tax system to offset that, but right now the best thing that Kasva can hope for is that at least he's going to disrupt the timings of the Chinese by forcing him to rely a lot more on the taxation rather than just mining some gold.
And he needs to get his own docks online and start fishing, because actually one of the weaknesses of these type of builds is like you're delaying Lucifron from getting access to one resource, but he's going to overboom in the other, and that's going to be food. And food just fuels everything, right? I want to build more villages, more TCs, I'll go that way. I want to build more military units, I want to tech up. Like, food benefits all these things. It's one of the awkward weaknesses of this type of rush is that you need the next step. And usually the next step for English players is like a short bow pull. They'll try and block out the wood, because one resource alone doesn't cut it.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Kasva's style and personality, I would possibly imagine a forward tower to try and deny that wood line, because right now, Lucifron's base is very much contracted, and everything revolves around those lumberjacks. So you could possibly justify a forward tower here for Kasva, given how much he invested into this Dark Age aggression, and given how much behind he is economically, because as you said, he severely delayed his fish addition, simply because he wanted to get so much out of this man-at-arms push, and he's yet to find any value.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and you have to like calculate whether 3-man arms paid, right? Because it's 360 resources. So it's over half of what you need for feudal.
I honestly don't think that you have to do calculations for this.
Yeah, you're right. We don't. It's bad, okay? Like, no, it was a nice idea by Kasva, but like you highlighted earlier on, it's someone I've always tweeted about. This is an RNG play. It's why people don't frequently do the boy arms rush. It's if the gold is on the backside, like you highlighted, it's a big thumbs down. And now this Barbican is going to guarantee the gold required. Like this choice by Lucifron, you said he could have went on tax, and with an Imperial Academy, that's definitely justifiable, but it's way too greedy. You don't want to slow down your timings.
Exactly, and as you said, the man-at-arms timing here is a little RNG, but it's also the fact that you're doing this against the Chinese, a civilization that probably is the best when it comes to just surviving without gold in Dark Age. Oh, he's... Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Dude, he wants it so bad, but he can't get it. And then, like, you need your man-at-arms here, but it's going to take so long to get on this lake. Meanwhile, I think Lucifron is playing Western Lake now.
Wait,
like, he's prepping
he stopped
for
constructing the landmark.
Oh, my God. Oh. Yes. Does he see it? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, sometimes the view that you get as an observer is a lie. So
yeah.
I'm, like, really suspicious as to whether he knows about that dock, especially considering he's so distracted going onto his opponent's dock. He might not realize this at all. And the tech up comes out from Lucy, and instantly we should see a junk primed to go and take down the fishing fleet that's only just started building.
And as you said, it's all about the fact that he's trying to focus on something else. Kasva doesn't even expect Lucifron to drop a dock on his spawn. And yes, technically he can see it, but in reality he cannot because he's focusing elsewhere. It looks like he's going to pull the villagers.
Okay, the good news for him is Lucifron has not got the gold together. He cannot build a junk. This many villagers should be able to shut this down. Good usage of the short bows to get rid of the villager means an outpost cannot even go up for Lucy.
Yeah, he could throw some torches on that tower before it gets cancelled, but he didn't do so, so Lucifron's gonna get a full refund at least.
Yeah, it's because he's worried about the timing. Like, he doesn't see what we see, which is Lucifron didn't have the resources for a junk. So he's like, crap.
Yeah.
If he gets this out, I'm done.
Speaking of junks, part of the reason why he doesn't have a junk on the pond of Kasva is because he wanted to keep his own fishing eco safe, gets a junk back at home, and the villager could be sniped before the tower is completed.
Whoops. He needs to be fast about this.
Oh, he's trying to body block.
He needs 2 flurries. He needs 2 flurries. Tower goes up, villager goes down. So, like, on the plus side, you got the tower. On the negative,
it does nothing.
That guy was meant to build the dock. Can we get another one out here, please?
I love the detail of body blocking, by the way, by Kasva. He just grouped everything he had on top of the villager, trying to ensure that his opponent can't click the Vil, but Lucifron clicked it beforehand, and he was able to pick off the Vil. Now Song Dynasty on the way for our red player, Lucifron.
The cool thing there as well is, like, I know some players like to multi-click, right? So they don't just click once, they click multiple times because it's like, it's to do with the APM habit, right? So that's another detail to think about why those body blocks can be effective, is that Lucifron might click multiple times and whoopsie-daisy onto the men-at-arms at the end. So, yeah, I definitely agree. It's a crafty little play out by Kasva. And, ooh, speaking of crafty, we're going on to land, and I like this play. So someone I was kind of hoping we get to talk about is Chukenu. You know me, I'm a big fan of them right now. I think they are ridiculously strong, and I think long-term, actually, they have 2 swing points. Chukenu are pretty dominant, not only in Feudal, but also in Imperial, and that's someone that Kasva is going to have to keep in check at both phases, should we arrive that late.
I mean, at this point, Kasva's probably not really worried about Imperial. He's worried about just surviving here in Feudal Age, even. He's down by 12 eco already, and Song Dynasty just kicked in for Lucifron. That's
kind of ugly as well. Like, he's spamming man-at-arms. He has got a lot of food in the coming minutes from the fishing, but I actually pause that thought. No, not this time around. He stands right next to a wooden wall, so Kasva's boy at arms will get some value here.
I mean, it's probably a good scenic view from that point, right?
Yeah, he's just confused, right? If you ever just walked into like a small wall, you're like, I could just walk around this, but I'm infuriated that it's in my way. No, just me. Clearly, I have my own problems.
Yeah. Heavy commitment to men-at-arms from Kasva.
Yes, and that is a problem for me, because like the issue is Chukenu actually aren't that bad if you start getting the range upgrades, which I think is exactly what Lucifron's going to go towards first. He's already got the blacksmith down, he just needs to get the resources together, and this should be the piercing upgrade, which will allow him to do significant damage against the boy at arms.
Yeah, and horsemen are already out there. Not a single spear on the battlefield for Kasva. Longbows, being rather slow, will be intercepted by the horsemen, and the unit comp that is right now kind of in the favor of Lucifron here.
Chukenu, dude, this is the issue. Once they gap close, it's annoying. Sure, you peel the horsemen off, but now the longbows usually be taken out by Chukenu. And more horsemen are coming out. I mean, this is the awkward part. Like, he could have went for spears, yes, but the Chukenu kill you even faster. So I kind of understand where he's coming from on the man-at-arms, but reaching the death ball count is going to be difficult.
And speaking of reaching the death ball count, he's up against Chinese. A supervised stable can just non-stop spam the horsemen. 1,000 food per minute for Lucifron, turning everything into horsemen, something that Kasva can't really deal with.
It's kind of an interesting idea, turning fish into horse. This guy's a magician, but yeah, it's happening before our very eyes. And then the issue is these man-at-arms, they last a long time, but limited damage. You really need longbows behind them. And the problem is, if there's ever longbows behind them, these horsemen are just going to pinch them. And that's why Kasva pulls back the entire army. He's now lost half of the MAA already, and they definitely did not get their value for it.
Oh man, this just spells desperation here for Kasva. He's down by 11 eco, and now the army for Lucifron is looking much, much better. And he's got sustainability. He can just non-stop spam units, and Kasva's always going to be behind. He's got a slow-moving army. It takes a lot of time to get to Lucifron's base. The only hope that Kasva may have here is maybe wood denial, because Lucifron's wood lines are both rather exposed, and Kasva was flirting with the idea of future towers already.
But he needs to be fast, because the rough part about being English up against Chinese is these Chukenu. To kind of highlight another detail, because I'm really starting to sound like a fanboy, but I need to justify it. It's
you
like
are.
Man-at-arms. Okay, so think about this logically, right? Man-at-arms, why do you build them this early? Well, they can handle range fire really well. Like, I can get them to a point where maybe I mitigate 60, 70, 8% of the damage. Problem with that theory is against Chukenu it doesn't work, because they do burst damage, which means they're attacking you 3 times instead of 1, and you can only reduce that damage down to a maximum of 1. So there's always a chip going through.
Exactly. And that's the difference maker. That's essentially what makes the Chukenu so unique, and that is why their armor-piercing capabilities are a lot higher than ordinary archer-style units.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen these units Gatling gun down rams before, right? It's just absurd to watch. And the issue I now see is they're now in a race to just an arms race of building these 2 range units. And the longbows, like, The issue is, yeah, you can say, oh, longbows kind of win against Chugenu because they keep like range advantage, but the horseman is the difference maker.
Yep.
And as this Chugenu count goes up, your men-at-arms can't stop the horseman. They already can't because they don't have a brace. They don't stun them. They just run around you.
Exactly. And I think Kasva is making a mistake here. He just told his opponent that he's making a dock right next to the one on the left side. He didn't have the potential to take down the dock with, but he's showing his opponent that he's trying to aggress that pond with the dock. And now the horsemen are swooping in to kill the villager.
And this men-at-arms clash, look how few there are. He can just wrap around, overwhelm them, then go after the longbows afterwards. This is going to be a rout. Kasva does not have enough men-at-arms. He even pulled the villagers to the front line. Every man and child must be armed here. But they are looking armless against Lucifron.
Even with the network of Castle's bonus, it's just insufficient for Kasva because the counter units are there. The front line is much stronger for Lucifron with the horsemen tanking all the damage, and then the Chugenu just close the distance and wipe out what's left of Kasva's army.
This volatility is just escalating so quickly. You can see the military count is shrinking up fast. Kasva, even if he was thinking of Castle Age, it's going to take him so long to get there. And in the meantime, Lucifron can march around. He's also looking to get rid of everything in the midfield. Siege engineering is being researched. Kasva is not going to have control here for long.
And the thing is that it's not just the army numbers that are lacking for Kasva, down to 8 army against 24. It's the eco as well. Off the back of this, Lucifron had a monstrous boom, up to 74 eco already. So he's going to be the aggressor while also maintaining a massive eco lead, potentially flirting with the idea of Castle Age. He is turning on cruise control, and he is very close to possibly closing out the set here.
And that eco situation really comes into the picture when he does this. Kasva goes to the double stable drop. So now his intent is just to mirror what Lucifron's been doing. But Lucifron already has the advantage. And the problem is the way that Lucifron's positioning, if he gets a whiff of this, if he sees the stables, he'll just double down on horsemen and you'll always be behind. So it's really important that Kasva tries to field some units to draw attention away. They'll die, but it's for the greater good, man, I swear.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is a desperation out of Kasva. He's able to get a dock up on the left side, but once again, there's already a junk out for Lucifron to repel that. Kasva kind of needs to get a galley out, snipe some fish, and essentially slow this game down. That might be his only chance, but the problem is that now Lucifron is thinking about Castle Age, and once he gets there, Palace Guards will make an appearance, something that Kasva is going to struggle finding an answer to in Feudal.
So the logic of the villager pull for the docks makes sense if Kasva didn't have to deal with horsemen. Like, he needs to clean these up first, and there it is. It's the reveal. The stables are seen. So Lucifron's going to peel back. Now he's going to double down. More horsemen are going to come out. He doesn't need additional Chugenu. He's got enough to build siege and enough to buffer back any spears that arrive. Spears that Kasva is finally going into 15 minutes into this game.
But look at that. Kasva might be overextending over here. Spearmen gone, horsemen gone, and now the horsemen of Lucifron jumping on top of the longbows. Once again, Kasva getting caught off guard here, losing numerous valuable units here in the middle of the field.
And look what he does. He just pushes the longbows away, and the Chugenu, they could stand their ground and kill the MAA. But he doesn't need to. Like, Lucifron's buying time because he's intending to go for a tech up. And the issue for Kasva is his military count is too low, so he won't save up. This is pretty crafty out of Lucifron. Instead of trying to win the game now, he'll win it in 2 minutes with a tech-up advantage with all the veterans he's coming through.
Exactly, and he's winning by just luring Kasva out of his base so much, luring him right into that stealth forest. Kasva had no idea what he was facing, and he got caught off guard. Once again, men-at-arms fell, and Kasva, he's just in a tough spot. He's gonna be down 1 age, down by no less than 25 eco now, and he could possibly even be losing more because now on the right side, we have naval combat coming up.
Whoops.
Naval combat where Lucifron can field war junks in a matter of seconds, something that Kasva doesn't have an answer to.
And Lucifron, I talked about the possibility for this, like insulating yourself on land. He goes back for the secondary TC. He's actually just spreading out his eco in this situation because he understands that Kasva, maybe he can snipe some fish, but also Kasva needs to make this transition himself. There's no way he can survive long-term on water, so Lucifron is just remaining one step ahead. And another issue, Kasva wasted all that time in the galleys attacking the junks instead of going after fishing. If he went after fishing, he could have killed a few because he did get the piercing arrow upgrade. So he should be able to do enough damage to burst through these fishing boats, especially if Lucifron's not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. But now Lucifron's fishing ponds are just very safe. He's got a virtually unraidable eco right now with what Kasva has on the battlefield. So Kasva can't even cut into that eco deficit that he has. It is going to be Castle Age coming in from Kasva though, possibly the King's Palace. So he could possibly compensate for some of that. And to him, it could be a saving grace that Lucifron is playing this one a little bit more cautiously, a little bit more slower paced, building up his forces back at home before moving out to push him.
Yeah, Lucifron's kind of being that guy that stomps you being 5 moves ahead. no offense to Kasva, but like the idea. If you think it, like, you know, that kind of like, this guy knows what I'm gonna do in chess already. It's what Lucifron's doing. Like, the transition onto land is because he's aware that Kasva has to make it as well with the castle up. So he's already ahead. He'll go back for the TC. Raiden, in the meantime, from Kasva, like, this could be a damn good one, and he needs it because, like I said, Lucifron right now is reading him perfectly. This is the first time in the last few minutes I've seen a move that Lucifron didn't originally anticipate.
Yeah, exactly. This is a good raid. The problem is that he still needs to find a way to stop this army from pushing through in the middle. Kasva, he's on the way towards Castle Age, getting a successful raid in. One step taken to a potential comeback, but still, how does he stop this one right now?
And you need the upgrades. That's the problem, because look at Lucifron in his positioning right now. He's going to dive in seeing this. He's got the veterancy up on those horsemen. They're willing to clash. And clash they will. Chigenu also moving in. They got upgraded, which means your man-at-arms, they're not going to get upgraded in time. This is worrying. Army likely to be wiped. And remember that your King's Pass is on the front line, and it's not exactly a tanky landmark.
Exactly, and battering grams have already been added by Lucifron. They're just now crawling up to the battlefield. Kasva losing everything he has army-wise. He is down to 7 horsemen only.
And he needs
well, those are doing work.
Now being queued up. Yeah, the horse. Well, they're going to be turned around upon now. The villagers have had enough of this. They're like, no, we're done with chopping wood while being stabbed in the back. This makes no sense to us. So they'll defend themselves. And in the meantime, Lucifron will now weave into the back of the base. Kasva needs his reaction fast. First few knights are almost ready to come out. He also now has Hulks coming out into the field. However, the investment to try and reclaim these lakes might set you too far back because Lucifron's full attention is now on land.
Kasva's only military unit, really, aside from 3 knights, is a Hulk.
The villagers! The villagers just stood there.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to make their way out, but I mean, this is awkward. Kasva is now 40 eco units behind. He'll clean up the first wave, but Lucifron is now prepping his own heavy cavalry to counter this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, as you said, Lucifron doesn't want to win this game right now. He wants to win it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes time, and he has set himself up so well for that. Now, credit to Kasva, he possibly have stabilized. He has vaulted himself off back at home. He's transitioned to farms and possibly even contesting the right-hand side leg. At this point, he's still very far away from recovery, but he might have given himself a chance by essentially wiping out most of those Chukenu, because if you take a look at Lucifron's army, he doesn't have much right now. One of the most precious resources that Kasva so desperately needs right now, time, he was able to acquire.
Hey, the other precious one he needs is vision, information. I think he still has an outpost on the front line. If he scouts out the Lancer transition early, he'll understand to put the full wall in. But if that Lancer count escalates to 7, 8, 9, and he doesn't have a wall up when it comes in, he could easily lose 10 plus villages.
Exactly. Like, he needs to scout that. In fact, even if it was just a leftover horseman from Lucifron, that could also do tremendous damage. So, honestly, even without scouting that Lancer transition, he should start walling up, because he needs to find a way to become the aggressor rather than just non-stop defending, and walling your base off could be one step towards that.
And I love this out of Kasva. I think he needs to do this. He's switched over onto the farms fully. I think he's just sacrificing fishing for the most. The logic here is that fishing, it's a war zone, right? So you want to be able to invest in military and not worry about a trade. Instead, you just want an upside of killing eco away from Lucifron. Speaking of which, knights do make their way in, although feeling somewhat sacrificed. Lance is quick to respond and limited kills achieved here. Especially against the Chinese, that is not going to cut deep enough.
Exactly, those villages are paying for their price quite well here. But at least Kasva is going to spot the Lancer transition, and once again, he's buying himself time. That's what he needs. As you said, he's moving on towards a farm transition, giving up on the pawns that are becoming increasingly inefficient with the travel distance for the fishing ships increasing. And he needs time above all. If he can find time to get a farm transition going, he's gonna have a shot, because suddenly he could just outmuscle his opponent with knight numbers.
Feels like he's stopped muscling on the lakes, though. He's full all in on just heavy cavalry. Not a bad idea, considering Lucifron hasn't walled himself in. However, I think that's changing. Considering the raids you just saw coming in, I wouldn't be surprised if Lucifron now peels off and just builds some walls up. And we can see he's doing exactly that on the southwest side.
Yeah, and he's also escalating. He's picking up the relics behind those walls. And once the trenches are dug and once it's impossible for Kasva to raid, this is a very much uphill battle for him, because Lucifron, he also wants to be the aggressor, and if he's walled back at home, he will for sure be the one.
Yeah, and if Kasva wants to continue this pursuit of heavy cavalry versus heavy cavalry, he needs the attack speed buff. He needs to fight somewhere he's got outposts, because right now he's being doubled up in heavy cavalry. In fact, even at this stage, with just a 25% attack, or 20% rather, attack speed buff, I don't think that's going to be good enough to beat the Chinese.
No, not at all. Especially because Lucifron can always pivot and just start going into crossbows or something. So Lucifron has his responses to this. Although this might be a bit of an overreaction here by Lucifron diving in with the Lancers. He's likely going to lose them. You get the feel that they are kind of sacrificial animals here.
Exactly. There's a reason behind this, Lidical. Remember that Lucifron went up to 3 TCs. He just got Forestry. He wants the center wood lines. He's going to secure on the east side with the keep, play towards Sacred Sites, and then also contest the central wood line near that Stealth Forest to make sure he gets the lion's share for a late game situation.
And relics, like at this point, look at the population of Lucifron. He's almost pop-capped. He's willing to sacrifice a couple of Lancers because he's got a big resource bank to replenish them with, and also to secure the relics. Off the back of this one, he's picking up 3 relics already and has a chance to pick up the remaining 2.
Well, okay, so let's create a checklist here, because Lucifron has not just on the double up, it's a triple up, right? We mentioned the relics, we mentioned the wood. Let's also keep in mind he's now making a farm transition. I love this from Lucifron, dude. He's understanding ahead of time this food is not going to last forever in the lakes, and it's becoming a war zone, right?
Yep.
I'll continue to exploit it the best I can, but I'm not going to rely on it. I'm going to give myself that infinite scalability. Cool thing about the Chinese, with the multiple granaries, you can actually compare to the English gathering rates, especially here in Castle Age.
Exactly, that's the key thing for him. Granaries will do just as much for him as the bonus does for the English. So Kasva can't even get away with the same amount of farms. It's going to be insufficient. But he doesn't even have the same amount of farms. Half the eco he has compared to Lucifron.
And this raid-in looks like it should be good for Kasva. The problem is Lucifron is so fleshed out, rather, 154 villages.
Kasva is actually doing a favor to Lucifron killing some vills here because Lucifron doesn't need that much. He will be fine with 140.
Yeah, and the Lance line just continues to inflate. Like you can see, they're trading out kind of evenly in terms of losing in bases. And now the reaction comes out. Lucifron says, wait, I can double up you in the night department. Let's turn it into a triple up. Kasva losing half of his effective military just in that play alone.
And look at that. Spearman, crossbowman added to the field. Kasva can't afford a tech switch right now. He's fully logged in on the heavy cavalry, and Lucifron is already prepping the answer for that, working towards a forward keep even. This is an impossible hold for Kasva. He's just being outmuscled so much.
The issue is wood. Look at Kasva's wood income. He doesn't have a transition in him, and he needs it desperately. Like, he needs maybe spearmen crossbows, because the issue with going knights here is you're fighting a losing battle. You're already behind. Your eco is weaker. Right now, you don't need mobility. A few knights are a good idea to dive your opponent's eco, but he's also using them to defend. Spears and crossbows would achieve the same goal in these choke points at a discount.
Exactly, but you really get the feel that this is just a snowball that's almost out of control at this point. Kasva obviously holding on to the game, trying to salvage something out of this one. This is match point and his tournament life on the line in this August monthly. But Lucifron is not going to let this slip out of his grasp. He's 200 out of 200 population, ready to go into Imperial. I don't want to sound grim, but I don't see a way of Kasva coming back into this one.
No, Lucy, he's confident that he's not going to let Vortex be the only one making it through to the grand finals of this monthly. Oh no, he is looking on course to turn it into a 3-0, especially with this coming out. The Great Wall on the front line. The reason he does this, he's not using Chuge Nu yet. So instead, he wants a static defense to box his opponent in. In the meantime, charging underneath the keep, several villagers going down, several blocked away from safety, as well as the siege falling. Kasva struggling to get a defense force together, and now a mile and a half behind as Lucifron cracks Imperial Age and looks to crack some skulls. And he does exactly that. GG gets called. Kasva will not be able to make it through to the grand finals. He will be denied the opportunity, a shot of making it to Wololo in August. Instead, Lucifron will go through to face off against Wham.
Crystal clear gameplay by Lucifron over here. He has really shown why he's not just a contender to indeed qualify this month, but when he qualifies, because he for sure will if he continues to play like this, he's going to be a threat to even the best players out there, because what we have seen from today from Lucifron, terrific performance. Crystal clear textbook gameplay, exploiting every single weakness that Kasva has shown, a safe yet confident gameplay that we have seen. No overcommitments, but also no underreactions to anything. He's played a very safe set, very clean, and I think he's going to be one of the prime candidates indeed to qualify from this monthly. And for Kasva, it's not the end of the world, because he is still rank number 4 in the weekly points, and if players qualify from in front of him, he's still going to possibly get a ticket from the weekly points. But this time around, Lucifron gets the better of him and cruises on to a 3-0 lead.